Guys, don't invest in apartments. My name is Thomas O'Regan and I have a 9 property portfolio. I make these videos to help you guys out that are interested and looking to invest in property and make wealth through property. So don't invest in apartments. That's what everyone says. But realistically, if you know what you're doing in property, you can make a shit ton of money investing in any different asset class within the property space. You just have to understand and know the strategy that works for each asset class. Okay, so if you're a general investor and you just like putting money in something you don't understand, then I suggest work with somebody that is an expert in their field. But me personally, the reason I've made so much money in property is because I invest in apartments. Okay, so sorry to confuse you guys at the start. I was just kidding when I said don't invest in apartments, but that's just what the masses say. That's just what everyone always says. Don't invest in apartments. But the reality is, these people that are saying that, they don't really know what they're talking about. They've just heard someone say that at a barbecue, or they've seen someone have a bad experience. And the fact is, the people, these people have they ever invested in apartments, or I don't know what I'm trying to get at here, but my point is, I have 9 investment properties. They're all apartments, and over the last 3.5 years, we've taken $1 million worth of equity out of these properties, and they are all cash flow positive. Okay, me and my wife invest in properties. They're all apartments, all cash flow positive, and the reason I invest in apartments is because typically they are better on the cash flow. And when people say, oh, apartments never grow, it's not true. It's not true. Apartments definitely have, they're not as linear in their growth cycles as houses are. And this is general again. It's so strange. It's so hard to talk about property without being super general, because every market is different, every type of asset is different, depending on where it's located. It's always different. Okay, you could have a house, you could buy a townhouse or a normal house on land that has amazing cash flow. It's all general, but generally apartments have good cash flow, and generally houses don't. So when I started investing, I was on a low income, and cash flow from the portfolio itself was very important. And as far as I could tell, I don't go to barbecues and listen and get my investing advice from people who own 1 or 2 properties at these barbecues. I get my investing advice from people who have net worths of $100 million, $1 billion, $500 million, and they actually use property as their vehicle to create wealth. So these people say, okay, the fundamentals of property, okay, the principles of investing in property are cash flow, upside for capital growth, and rentability, right? There's a few others, but if you hit all these, that's what matters. And it doesn't matter what asset class you invest in. You just need to make sure you've got these 3 principles, and then don't get hung up in the rest, okay? But I've started working with a conveyancer recently, and she's also an investor, and she's a buyer's agent as well. I don't know what her portfolio looks like, but I mean, I've been investing with this strategy for the last 3.5 years, and I've sort of more than doubled my portfolio. I've got 9 properties, and that's in a 3.5 year space. So if someone else has a better result than that, then I'll listen to them. But if they don't, then I think, the person who has the best, who's got the best strategy has the best result, right? So when you're getting advice from people, look for people who actually have what you want, and listen to them. Okay. Yeah, but one thing I've learned in property investing, there is so many different ways to make money in property investing. Like, there's options, there's investing in apartments, there's investing in townhouses, there's developing it, there's renoing it, there's flipping it. There's so many different ways to make money in property. You just have to do what is right for you. If you're on a high income, if you're on a low income, typically people on high incomes like to negatively gear their property. They don't like to pay so much tax. So they like to get a property that is appreciating at a high compounding rate, 7%, 8%, 9% on average per year, somewhere in Sydney, Bondi, Coogee, eastern suburbs, northern beaches, something like that. They like to get these type of properties which seemingly year on year appear to grow at a high rate in a straight line. They like to get these properties and hold them and just take the massive hits on cash flow, costing them thousands and thousands of dollars a year, maybe tens of thousands of dollars a year to hold, and then getting a big tax back at the end of the year. You've got to be fluid. Like when investing, you've got to be fluid with your strategies and the way you invest. Like use the principles of investing, whatever your principles are. Mine are cash flow, rentability, and upside for capital growth. If these principles are good, then the investment is good. It doesn't matter where it is, what it is, it doesn't matter. Okay, so people get caught up in I only buy land, I only buy townhouses, I don't buy townhouses, I only buy, on 500 square meter blocks. Like, whatever, dude, like, whatever. Does it hit the other principles met? If not, it's about investment. All right, guys, bye.